So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
All right. Well, despite a tiny little technical difficulty, we are here with Erica and Benthovend. So, hello. All right. So, first things first. This is Kent with Bent 17. Dude, where's my Conman? Which is surprisingly apt because today people were looking for Kent on Modern Day Debate, and he was nowhere to be found. But the interesting thing about that is that I was on the phone with Kent earlier, and he definitely knew about the debate. And I was on the phone with Kent, and I mean like I called him on the phone with my cell phone. I was on the phone with him because I was trying to set up a debate between him and me and Erica. A 2-on-1 debate. We were trying to do 2-on-2, but I don't think Kent even understood the idea. So,
Ken thought it was going to be you and I, and then also standing for truth, which I'm sure very much caught him off guard. His mentor would have, you were supposed to be the chosen one.
No, when I said standing for truth, he said, I thought he was on your side. And I was like, no, he's a creationist.
Oh my god. That's such a roast by Kent.
I know. Ouch. Sorry, Standing. I doubt that you're watching this, but if you are, ouch, man. Daddy Kent.
Sometimes, I think. I really do think he does. He likes to, I think that's like part of the research that he does.
Okay.
To give him a burn if he is watching. Read papers instead, my friend. It's a much better use of your time.
Yeah, don't watch a dinosaur drunkenly yell at Kent Hovind. It's not exactly something you should take overly seriously. Which reminds me, we need to go over the rules. If you're playing along at home, the drinking game is, and also, by the way, I do not recommend that you play along because you should drink responsibly, and I take no responsibility for any injuries, deaths, alcohol poisoning, medical bills, anything like this resulting from playing along with the drinking game. So, the rules are, when Kent gets something right, we take a drink. When Kent says something so stupid I can't stop myself from drinking, we take a drink. And I need to get my phone, but when my phone makes the Godzilla noise, we take a drink. So give me just a second, because I forgot it in the other room like an idiot.
Folks, do make sure that you're safely in the presence of your own home or staying at a friend's house if you do decide to play this game, or that you're drinking a substance that is not going to impact your blood alcohol levels, because that's not safe. You gotta listen to Dapper D on this one, all right? He knows what he's talking about, so
all right.
Take it easy.
Bent, if you could demonstrate the Godzilla noise for us, that would be much appreciated.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay. So there you go. Whenever a Godzilla goes off, and I'll make sure he's a little bit louder, but yeah, that will be a drink trigger. So, are we ready?
We are ready.
All right, I'm certainly ready. Let's do this. Is it gonna go? Come on.
Is Kent bailing
James
on us
Hutton wrote a
again?
book in 1795. People began to doubt the Earth was 6,000 years old. Charlie Lyell wrote a book in 1830, and people began to doubt the flood, and Charlie Darwin's book made people doubt the Creator. And by the mid-1800s, people were wondering, wow, if God didn't do it, how did we get here? Who's in charge of the world? That led directly to the rise of communism, Marxism, socialism, Nazism. We'll cover that on.
What?
Yep.
What?
0 to 60 in about 1.5 seconds.
And I like how he's like, he just blew way past Godwin's law. We're into like Godwin's law times 4.
That gave me whiplash. I've got whiplash from that.
My
He's not even
goodness.
wearing one of his fun ties, which makes it even worse.
Oh yeah, he's got a boring tie. Come on, Kent, get a scene with dinosaurs and a sunrise on your tie. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
Yeah.
wow. And the thing is, as someone with a degree in history who has studied these things on more than just a secondary source level, no, that isn't something that led to those things.
I I hear that so often too, that this idea that, first of all, that social Darwinism has anything to do with regular Darwinism, but then to take it even further, that there were even prescriptions to like social Darwinism by many of these people. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Hitler like religious?
It's hard to say. His writings on the matter are very contradictory, and if he was religious, it's not clear what religion he would have been. So in his public statements, he usually makes kind of blandly Christian-y kinds of things, but in a lot of his writings that weren't just public speeches, he's pretty critical of Christianity, and so it's a little iffy. He seems to have kind of believed in some kind of creation, but I don't think he was very clear on his theology. So, yeah, he was religious-y, I guess.
Yeah, middle there.
Right, but it is true that the communists were very explicitly anti-religious, but they were also very explicitly anti-Darwin.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, actually, Origin was like banned in Soviet Russia, and then I'm pretty sure it was on the book burning list for World War II as well, for like Holocaust stuff.
Yep. Hitler burned Origin of the Species, and it was banned in the Soviet Union, it was banned as a excuse by the capitalist class to exploit the workers, because obviously the capitalist class based their position as property owners on the idea that they were more evolved, even though I've never heard of any of them ever basing it on that. So, yeah. There you go. Well, you know what? I'm going to drink, though, because he got the dates roughly right. So here we go. Good job, Kent.
Seminar Part 5. Politically incorrect.
That's coming. Seminar Part 5. Stay tuned.
Evolution theory. Now, Darwin didn't originate the evolution theory. It was around before him. He just simply made it popular, okay? But
there were like there were ideas that were evolutionary beforehand, but none of them are anything that was on a direct line to the modern like synthesis.
Yeah, I don't even think. Yeah, man came into being from an animal other than himself, namely the fish. All right, so also like evolution isn't just like what Kent thinks of when he thinks of like the March of Progress, right? The picture of the you're looking at Ben that sort of trundles up the way. Like there's what made the theory of evolution so tenable to the scientific community were the pillars that made it up, right? Like the mechanisms by how natural selection or genetic drift, gene flow work, and mutation and the like, and of course sexual selection. It's like you can't just say, thing A becomes thing B at some point in history and then call that evolution. Then you might as well say that the Greeks with like their myths of like shape-shifting counts as evolution.
Right. Well, I do think that what he's talking about includes things like Lamarckism, which was an early attempt to find some kind of non-mystical way to explain faunal succession. And it wasn't the worst idea at the time, it just happened to be wrong. I mean,
and they just lack any kind of mechanistic application.
But what I mean? There were also ideas stemming from Greek philosophy about the great chain of being, and the idea was supposedly that, like, very simple organisms were the first things on Earth, and they were things like worms or something, and then slowly they might become a lizard or a salamander, and then a mouse, and then maybe a monkey, and then maybe a human. And I mean, obviously there would have been other stages between there that the Greeks probably would have thought of, but that's the rough idea. And so there are thematically similar ideas that I guess you can say are sort of like evolution, but they're very little like it in most cases. Lamarck is the only one I can really think of as being in any way attempting to be rigorous before Darwin.
With ya.
Okay. Bent?
Yep.
You agree?
I agree.
All right.
Very eloquently spoken.
Thank you.
Timothy was warned by Paul here in 1 Timothy 6.
Hey, wait.
Be careful.
I was warned by Paul?
About avoiding
is that what
profane
says?
babbling.
I said Timothy was warned by Paul, and that is my first name.
That's someone else.
Okay, it's a different Timothy?
No relation.
No Timothy, no relation? Okay. Oh, did you know Kent thinks that Timothy wrote the books of Timothy in the Bible? Even though they were written by Paul to Timothy.
Kent also thinks that like the King James version is like the most perfect version. So it's.
But even in the King James, look at the thing right here. It says "O Timothy." That O is a particle indicating direct address in early modern English. That's telling you that this sentence is being directed at Timothy. It's like saying, hey, Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust. That's what that means.
So Timothy is talking to himself.
Right. He's
like a Pokemon, they say their own name.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's all he can say. Timothy! He's like Timmy from South Park. Wait, is Timmy from South Park a Pokemon?
All the same person.
Okay.
Things and oppositions of science falsely so called. Evolution is not science. Evolution's a religion in every sense of the word.
Hold on,
Hitler
hold the
said
phone
that
there, because I covered that a minute ago. I'm doing like a little mini series with actually Genesis Apologetics to 7 myths or whatever, and they used that Timothy verse there too. But the problem with that is that it's not the same science definition that we use. Like the science that they're using is that direct translation of the word knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they use it as if it's like some kind of like prophecy, of doom, foreseeing evolution and of course the antiquity of the earth. And there's no such thing. I mean, we don't consider science to be knowledge. We consider it because then, any kind of academic field would fall under the line of science. Like science is how we observe an experiment with the natural world and to explain the phenomena that we see. So, but it's such a cheap little shot and it's not even in all the versions. Like it's in King's
Erica, you're forgetting one big thing though. There's only been semantic shift in the English language between 1611 and 2020 where it's convenient for AIG for there to have been semantic shift.
No, that is so true. And that drives me absolutely bonkers. I'm not even a linguist, so I can't even imagine how it is for you.
Well, I mean, I'm not a linguist, but I am. I'm similarly well informed on linguistics in the way that I am on things like vertebrate paleontology. And so, I mean, I aced all my language classes, including Arabic and Old English. So, I know a thing or two about what I'm talking about. You shouldn't cite me as a source, but yeah, yes, there's this thing called semantic shift where the words don't mean the same thing. In fact, Kent knows about it because at some point, in one of his speeches, he goes on and he says, gay used to mean happy. And then he goes and says, the Bible says, blessed is, or happy is he who weareth the gay clothing. And he's like, oh, see, words don't always mean the same thing. And it's like, yeah, you're right.
And I
Case in point.
That probably wasn't going the direction that I'm hoping it was going, where it's like, yeah, yay, we love gay people. I don't think Kent is taking that stance, is he?
To be fair, he didn't then go into some polemic against homosexuality. He just let it die there. It's just making a point that you can't...
Credit where credit is due.
Right. You can't just assume the meaning of the word now is the same as it is in the King James Bible. And that was the point he was trying to make. But apparently, because it's not convenient this time, he's not going to make it this time.
The text notes I'll control this.
No, sorry, continue.
Oh, okay.
Go.
Professor Wilson at Harvard University said, as were many persons from Alabama, I was a born-again Christian.
Godzilla, got a drink. I suspect bent, but I'm not sure.
I gotta do something around here.
When I was 15, I entered the Southern Baptist Church with great fervor and interest in the fundamentalist religion. I left at 17 when I got to the University of Alabama and heard about evolution theory. He lost his faith.
Okay.
First year of college. That's what happened to Philip Wentworth. Studied for the ministry at Harvard, lost his faith, gave up on the ministry. That's what happened to Scott. He almost lost his faith till somebody showed him one of my videotapes. And he said, oh, man, you saved my faith, Brother Hovind. This, Marty wrote me and said,
I'm sure that happened.
Do you think maybe it might have something to do with like the perception, at least, of just the sheer dishonesty? Like you find out actually what evolutionary theory is, and then you're like, all right, this is not at all what it was portrayed to me as, and then that then seeds the sort of mistrust in the church.
I think that's a distinct possibility. And in fact, I'm currently talking to someone named Dave about potentially doing another Leaving Young Earth Creationism. And as a bit of a spoiler for people who are watching this, Dave is a former AIG employee.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Juicy.
So that might be interesting. Now, he wasn't one of the PhD. He wasn't like a Georgia Purdom or like a Nathaniel Jeanson. He worked in their IT department, but still, he was working there at their whatever passes for their HQ, and he was interacting with Ken Ham and the staff there, and he had to sign the pledge of, or whatever it is, the statement of faith, I think is what it is. But basically, I promise to believe these things even if I know they're wrong statement. Yeah. As otherwise I'm fired. Yeah, he signed that. And the big reason he quit is because he stopped believing that statement of faith. So, I can't get too much into it because that's about all I know. But that's something, we're trying to do that, I believe, on the 7th, which is a Saturday. So stay tuned for that. We're trying to figure out a good time. But
your ministry's been a blessing to me. I'm one of the high school students in the anthropology class that is a victim of the dangers of evolution teaching. I was very discouraged and questioned the existence of God. I listened to your seminars, and that completely encouraged me, and it was a blessing to me. Yay, rescued one. It's amazing how many thousands of people down through history have lost their faith because of this evolution teaching.
you know what? That was stupid enough for me to drink to, and I'll tell you why after I do it. Okay, cheers. It's not the evolution that's making people lose their faith, Kent. It's your insistence that they be lied to about creationism. Most Christians don't have a problem accepting both Christianity and evolution. So clearly, the problem isn't just evolution. Because if it were, there just wouldn't be most Christians.
You know, and the thing is that because this seminar is so old, you know, you've just got this chain of events all lined up where someone orders Kent's entire, you know, the 50-pound seminar in all its VHS glory.
Wait, is he selling it for 50 pounds?
No, I'm saying like it probably weighed 50 pounds because there's so many tapes.
Well, because I know he's selling it for $50, but I thought maybe he just slapped the other currency sticker on it if you're trying to buy it from the UK and didn't bother with the conversion rate.
No, and I have no idea how the dollar was doing against the British pound then. So, I mean, it's doing not great now. So, but I digress. I mean, so some poor sap bought the entire seminar and had to lug all those VHS tapes over to his buddy Marty's house, and then proceed to force poor Marty to sit through, I can only imagine, a majority of them. So much tape flipping, so much rewinding.
Maybe they had a rewinding machine so they could just go straight to the next one while the first one rewinds.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be nice. Or maybe they had like a double-decker VHS or VCR, that's the word. You ever see one of those? That's how you know you really made it, when you have 2 tape decks in your single VCR.
Those things were like dense too. Picking those up and moving them. I was a child right on the cusp of VHS to DVD, so we had a lot of VHS tapes when I was very young, and then I was there for like the transfer, so then we had kind of both at the same time, and we had those like DVD players that were also VHS players.
Oh,
those
yeah.
At ESL.
The hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're showing our age, although I feel like a good portion of my audience is old enough to remember VHSs.
I would imagine so, in their 20s, probably.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we probably have some. I mean, I'm old enough to remember clay tablets, so, you know.
Well,
You think VHSs you think VHSs are heavy. Wait till you try clay tablets.
How do you rewind a clay tablet?
Oh, well, that's one nice thing. You don't have to. You just pick it back up and start reading again.
Yeah. You flip it over.
Right.
Karl Marx studied.
Did you say Karl Marx?
Said he wanted to serve God with his life. Went off to college, became an evolutionist. Comrade Stalin was a special this afternoon on TV. How many saw that about Comrade Stalin on the History Channel? He went to a Christian school.
Wait, this is old enough that there was history on the History Channel?
That's really old.
Yeah, because now it's just aliens and secret Nazi bases on the moon.
Well, and weird reality. It's a lot of Pawn Stars, too, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Which I don't mind that stuff is out there, but I feel like it shouldn't be on the History Channel. But I'm old enough to remember when MTV played music, so...
I'm not old enough for MTV to play music, but I do remember when Animal Planet actually had good programming that involved animals.
Nice.
Like The Most Extreme or Big Cat Diaries, like all of that, the good shit, you know? But now it's just all like Pitbulls and Parolees or like Tanked, and, you know, you can only see so many episodes about building a big fish tank.
You know what? A moment of silence for the educational programming of years past.
And TLC, the Learning Channel, big rip on that. I'll drink to that. I'll drink to TLC.
All right.
That's a sad one.
Cheers, guys. Beach Price remembers when VCRs came out. There you go.
Read Darwin's book, became an atheist. Killed between 60 and 100 million of his own people.
I really feel like it wasn't Darwin's book that made Joseph Stalin an atheist, but I'm also not going to check, because I don't really care. Because he also banned Darwin's book, so...
Like, you could pick any book. that someone has ever said, "Oh, hey, that book I read was pretty good. You should read it." You know, I've said that about every book on my bookshelf that deserves to be there. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's very fair to pinpoint that, but you know, then again, knowing Kent, I'm not even 100% sure that if you fact check this, it would come out on the level.
Well, you know, a few years ago, I read a book, it was a Dungeons & Dragons supplement called Deities and Demigods. Turned me into a polytheist, so...
That happens.
Right. It's the evil D&D they warned you about in the 80s.
Listen,
now I worship demons.
I don't know how you managed to do 2 rounds of the Satanic Panic. It was bad enough with Harry Potter and Pokemon in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I couldn't have done it with D&D.
Okay, so this is a little bit off topic. When I started playing Dungeons & Dragons, it was at the tail end of the Satanic Panic, which didn't for Dungeons & Dragons, which didn't really trail off until like the early 90s, which is about when I started playing. So I went out, and in the like very early days of trying to do research when Google wasn't even a thing, I tried to find all the reasons why my parents shouldn't worry about me playing Dungeons & Dragons. And I presented it to them, and they were like, all right, you can play Dungeons & Dragons. And I was, yes, I did it. I convinced my mom and dad, because it was a thing. And like, yeah, we were going to a church where they were like, I don't know, maybe kids shouldn't be playing these demon games. I was like, yeah, okay.
Don't you know
Andrew
there's
Carnegie
spells
became an
in that
evolutionist
game?
reading
They role play.
There
They
are
role
spells.
play.
Yeah, they roll with dice.
I think the Satanic Panic is what let rampant like brony shit and like anime slip under the. They were looking at the wrong enemy.
All right, so yeah, everyone was so concerned with Dungeons & Dragons they didn't even notice the weebs and the bronies, huh?
They were sneaking in, which no shade. I've met excellent weebs and excellent bronies. I'm just saying. I'm sure had they noticed the weebs and the bronies, they would not be happy.
Darwin's book. He said it freed him from the shackles of religion. Light came in as a flood, and all was clear. Not only had it got rid of theology and the supernatural, but I found the truth of evolution.
What?
Carnegie left behind millions of dollars to make sure evolution is taught in our schools instead of creation. He funded the National Center for Science Education.
Actually, I believe that is correct, so we get to drink on that one. Carnegie.
Also, the National Center for Science Education is dope. They've got a great website that's fully functional, and it's an old website too. So good on them. Good on you, Carnegie.
Oh, and Beach Price comments, Dinos and Dragons? That may have been more or less the theme of my last campaign.
the Jurassic fantasy.
Basically, I mean, look, 2 out of 4 player characters were actual dinosaurs, and 3 out of 4 were archosaurs. So,
oh, God, just probably adopt the stats of like it's like a 1-to-1 with like the races that you can already pick from. Or did you do like some
I did
stats?
some custom stuff. The actual dinosaurs were Deinonychosaurs, and so they had some benefit from having feathers, and they were a little bit better at climbing due to wing-assisted inclined running, and the sort of crocodile line PCs had some breath holding because they were semi-aquatic, and they were custom races, but they weren't too crazy. They weren't like crazy OP or anything. But.
Right.
The list is really long. We'll have to quit now. But 75% of kids from Christian homes that go to public schools lose their faith after 1 year of college.
I feel like that can't be right, but I don't really know.
What are they teaching our kids that's making them lose their faith? Well, we're going to cover some of the lies.
The reason I think that's not right is because I'm pretty sure we're not at that number now, you know, and it's only been steadily increasing. I saw a Pew study like 2 days ago when I was doing a video, and we're like into this. I think it's like 62 or 68% of people in America like accept evolution now, which is great. That's much better than what it was.
It's not great, but yeah, it's a lot better.
Well, then what it was like it was barely in the 50s, like 2 years ago. So it's like counting our blessings. Come on.
Yeah, no, it is a lot better. It's a big improvement, but I would like to see more 100%. Like well, that's never going to happen. I mean, there's flat earthers. I mean, like we're not 100% is an unreasonable goal, but I would like it to be in the 90s. If we get to the 90s, then I'll be like, we're good. Because at that point, everyone, I use the Bigfoot test. if more people believe a thing than believe in Bigfoot, like a higher percentage of people believe in something than believe in Bigfoot, it's something that just everyone, you can just assume everyone believes it. So for instance, more people believed that Hillary Clinton was a criminal than believed in Bigfoot in the 2016 election. So that's just something that people believed. I would like to get evolution to that point. Now, that's not me stating anything about Hillary Clinton. That was just a statistic.
If people could talk about if I could hear people talk about evolution as often as I hear people talk about Hillary Clinton, or any politician for that matter, that would be the biggest success.
That would be great.
Successes.
Flirts don't count. Gens, unfortunately, they do for statistical purposes.
Books, some more lies in the textbooks in the next session.
Oh,
there
the
is
next
no
session.
known
Okay,
evidence
good.
to
We're
support the
right
evolution
back.
theory, except things that have been proven wrong a long time ago. If real evidence exists for this evolution theory, I would like to see it.
I'm going to drink on that one because you've seen lots of it, Kent. I've showed you some. Eric and I are going to be showing you some later at a date to be determined.
He's not going to like that.
No, probably not.
We've been offering $250,000 for real scientific evidence for evolution. We've had that offer for over 10 years.
I think you owe
there
people
isn't
a lot
any.
of money, Kent.
Well, no, he doesn't, because if you read the actual... Because I've read the challenge. I think I read it while I was in high school, when it was still current. You had to prove that God couldn't have created the universe. How would you... How could you conceivably prove that?
That's not the same thing that he said.
I know.
Like, at all.
I know. It's very different. But that was the challenge.
This has to be the first time anyone's ever, accused Kent Hovind of misrepresenting something. What a sad day.
I'm still waiting for him to do a Whack an Atheist on either of us.
He won't. There's no way.
I don't know.
I think we were both nice enough to him in our conversations that things are like civil. It's like he might get you because of Kent with Ben.
I just got rid of everybody's picture. I'm much how do I want to say this? I'm much more pleasant in debates and in phone calls than I am, say, in these videos, because
I think that's how it goes.
Yeah, well, I think that is pretty much everyone. And the thing is, like, look, this is mostly just a thing I do for fun, right? Like, I'm here to drink some alcohol, yell at Kent Hovind for no reason. And like Bent and I have said, this is an extension of something we used to do before I even really had a channel. We would just sit around and watch nonsense videos like this, and sometimes it was even Kent Hovind.
It was usually Kent Hovind.
Yeah, and we would just make fun of him.
It was Kent Hovind debates. That's
what we started with.
We would watch Kent Hovind debate other people and lose and just make such a fool of himself.
Yep, and then we would laugh at him.
I'm like, why not do this on YouTube?
Exactly, and that's how Kent with Bent was born.
Yeah, I don't think I'd tell Kent that he's like. There are a lot of things that I would not tell Kent to his face, just because that's not how I roll, I guess. But there are plenty of things that I would, in the proper setting, say about Kent that would be not the nicest. But I could say that about a lot of people, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well,
it's easy to roast them when they're not around.
Well, he was invited to the non sequitur Kent Hovind roast, which if you haven't watched, go watch that, because that was pretty funny.
I've seen some of it, but not all of it. Continue.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Suppose I had a theory that the moon is made of green cheese. Now, that's a dumb theory, I know, but hey.
Hey, you got one right. Drink. That is a dumb theory. Good job, Kent.
It's okay to have a dumb theory. There are no laws against dumb theories.
Yeah, that's true, too.
But then suppose I started teaching my students, hey, kids, did you know NASA proved my theory in 1973 when they went there on a secret mission and drilled a hole and found the moon is made of green cheese?
Hey kids, did you hear that secret creationist scientists found out the Earth is only 6,000 years old?
Now, hold on a minute. It's okay to have a dumb theory. It's not okay to lie about my evidence for my theory, okay? It is worse for me to get paid by tax dollars while I lie about my theory.
He's never going to stop projecting.
Freud is spinning in his grave at this.
I like to think that you could use Kent as the actual projector in a movie theater because of how much practice he has at projecting. You could just load a film reel into his nose or something, and it would just project out of his mouth.
The thing is that all right, how much money would someone have to pay you to watch the entirety of the Green Mile that Kent does all the voices and the voiceover?
I mean, if I can stream to YouTube while I'm doing it and drink alcohol, then I'll do it for free.
We're doing that on the Seabed show.
You'd make a decent amount.
Right. I'd do it just in the hopes of getting some chat revenue. I mean, like, so the thing is, like, Kent is a guilty pleasure sort of thing, right? I have fun watching these. Like, that's the dirty little secret, is that I enjoy doing this because it's so bad. It's like watching The Room. It's unbelievable that this is a thing that happens.
The thing about Kent, too, is that credit where credit is due. When he's speaking, you can tell he's comfortable speaking in front of a crowd.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like he's not a bad speaker.
No, he's a showman.
Just everything he's saying is wrong.
Right, yeah. Kent is very much a showman in a way that Eric just isn't.
Yeah.
Denver Dino, do you drink to irony? Not explicitly, but you know what? I'm thirsty, and for some reason it's hot in this room, so I'm just going to drink anyway. There you go. That's for you, Robert. I just drank you probably can't hear it. I don't know. But Oh, we got a Godzilla noise.
What?
We drink for Godzilla because Godzilla is the king of the monsters, no matter what King Kong thinks.
Hey, you know I'm always on the primate side. Go easy on him.
Hey.
He's smaller.
I'm on the diapsid side, and after taking a close look at the skeleton thing for the legendary Godzilla, guy's clearly a diapsid. He's got the temporal fenestre and everything.
I got a rep primate kin, bro. Come on.
Man, you and your weirdo synapsids, I'm telling you.
I know.
I know. Okay, here's something. What's with having jaw muscle attachments on the lateral side of the jaw? That's disgusting.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know enough about jaw evolution or inner ear evolution to say for certain, but I would wager there was at least some pressure for that. For weird jaw attachments for the inner ear?
So if I remember correctly, it was largely a change that resulted from the need to narrow the jaw, which then led to a dentary squamosal jaw joint, and then that kind of pushed muscles up and over because it was hard to get them on the medial side of the jaw bones. And then,
right.
And then as the angular and surangular bones became less important for chewing, they became more important for hearing, which all tetrapods use them for hearing. Like even your lizards or snake pets that you might have, they receive vibrations through their posterior jaw bones. And so that function just became more and more primary until they turned into inner ear bones. Or middle ear bones? Yeah, middle ear bones. Anyway, we also have a super sticker from Jens van Broekhoven for €2 that says, cool, thank you very much, very appreciated. That puts us at $97.90 away from getting to see Dapper Dino in a tutu in an upcoming video.
So I don't mind if they want to have a theory
Euros.
that it came from a rock. That doesn't bother me. It does bother me that they want to lie to the students about their evidence, and it really bothers me that I have to pay their salary while they lie to spread their theory. So
You don't even
here's some of
pay
the evidence.
taxes. What are you talking about?
This belongs on the you guys know the subreddit Aged Like Milk?
I don't think I do, no.
It's for statements that have just absolutely aged horribly.
Oh, well, he has one that he makes about like marriage. And he's like, I think the best thing to do is to get married to one woman, stay married to her for the rest of your life, never get divorced. And you know what? That's what I've done. And it's made me a very happy man. And it's like, oh, that's a little rough.
And Kent too had the luxury of like living in a time period where everything you did wasn't recorded, and he still managed to like bust himself with like all of his past actions.
That's because, like everyone in 2020, but like almost no one at that time, he recorded himself constantly.
That's with the big ass honking camera too.
Yep.
You gotta admire the dedication.
That was state of the art at the time, right? Like, like we're watching this and we're like, oh, this video quality is absolute crap. But like, this was like hi-fi, awesome Star Trek crap when this was made.
That's why those seminars cost so much money.
Oh, yeah. Although he does say that he'll refund you everything but the shipping costs if you send them back.
Yeah, that's because they're so heavy. It's more expensive than the tapes.
Evolution theory. They say, we have evidence from fossils. I say, guys, you got to be kidding. No fossil counts as evidence for evolution.
Well, that's stupid, and let's prove it to him later. So we're going to drink on that one.
That one kills me.
Well, I think that we can demonstrate conclusively, not to Ken's satisfaction, but to the audiences when we debate him next, which, again, date to be determined. But I'm pretty sure that between the two of us, we can present some pretty awesome fossils, so...
I think we need a combination, just as like a preface. I think we need a combination. This is what I found works with Kent the best. It's like if you have a decent analogy that you then tie directly into the evidence, he likes that. He loves analogies.
He does.
So it's like you almost have to be like, if I could do X, Y, Z, then blah, 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 right? And then you'll be like, oh, yeah, but you can't do that. And then it's like, okay, but here it is. Right.
Right.
None. If you find bones in the dirt, all you know is it died. You don't know it had any kids. No fossil could count as evidence for evolution. None.
You know, in one of my videos, I don't remember exactly which one, I go into like a whole bunch of things that you can know just from a fossil, and it's a whole long list. You can know a whole lot more about an animal based on its fossil than just that it died.
Well, and people, you know, I bring this one up because it's especially applicable to like anthropology or like bioint stuff, but it's like forensic science and a lot of paleontology there's so much overlap.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole field of forensic anthropology, which is just like seeing what we know about people and how they died and why they died that way. That's applied to modern criminology and it's applied to ancient paleontology. You can tell an infinite, especially with mammals because of our teeth.
Yeah.
You can tell so much about a dead mammal based off of our teeth.
Well, have you ever heard the joke about mammal paleontologists?
It does have to do with teeth?
It does. It's actually a visual joke where you've reconstructed this mammal based on the things that mammal paleontologists pay attention to, and it's just a jaw with some feet sticking out of the bottom. Because that's all any mammal... Everyone else is like, the postcranial anatomy is completely useless except for the feet, and then we have the jaw, and that's it. That's all it is. Feet and jaws, that's the entirety of mammal history is... And the thing is, though, it's kind of true. The postcranial anatomy of mammals is super boring.
It's really uniform is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same vertebra, like the vertebra number stays the same, the digit number stays, or tends to stay the same. At least you've got, like, vestigial forms of the original 5 digits. But yeah, it's mammals are all about the teeth. And that's why anytime you find, like, this is the one thing that I think is kind of, like, funny about paleontology though is like you find like incisors and then you come up with a sort of like rodent looking thing, and I like to imagine, you know, how funny it would be to actually compare what it was to what we have, just because think of all the wasted good paleo art.
Oh, and we have a couple super chats that just came in. So we have 10 more euros from Jens van Broekhoven. It just says rocks, and I believe that is in reference to Kent Hovind saying that you find bones in the dirt, and yeah, it's true, you find them in the rock. And we also have a $2 super chat from Adam Morgan. Says, its provenance is more important, in my opinion. I believe that is also in reference to fossils. And that is extremely important. Yeah, basically, if you come up with some kind of fossilized bone and you can't tell anyone where it came from, it's worthless. Basically.
Yeah, that's why you've got issues with guys like Mark Armitage, who just, like, hoax Triceratops horns.
Which, by the way, now puts us only $85 away from a tutu to Dapper Dino.
So we have evidence from structure, from molecular biology, from development. Well, let's talk about a few of these. Evolution is dead. The theory is defunct. There is no evidence to support it. But some of the followers are pretty dedicated, and they're having a hard time letting it go. They'll even lie to you to make you think everything's fine. They say, wow, look at that evolution theory. It's perfectly fine. There's no challenge to evolution.
Wait. Erica, didn't we do this on your channel, this very picture?
This is literally the same clip art picture. And you know how I know? Because the difference between the skeleton and the copy-pasted human animation.
Right. There's no stylistic consistency. You've got this pretty accurate, realistic skeleton and these absurdly cartoonish, and obviously, like, that's the same character model.
It's the same character model 2 times, yeah. And
Yeah.
the thing is that you can bet those were expensive at this time of this recording.
And by the way, we now have 2 more super chats. We have $2 from John Rapp. Oh, and we have a Godzilla, so drink for that.
Drink.
All right, so we have a Good Day Dapper from John Rapp. This is for this is for $2 dues. These are $1 dues. Let's drink. I'm gonna drink for the $1 dues because that's fun. And John Rapp says, "Good day, Dapper. Kevin made me subscribe. Good on you, mate. And thank you. And you know what? If you're not subscribed to Dead Kennedy in Space, one of my mods needs to put a link to his channel in there, and you should go subscribe to him. He has great content. He's a great guy. He helped me out when I was really sick to help me get a video out because, you know, YouTube doesn't care that I'm sick. We also have a $20 super chat from Benthoven, no relation. Thank you, Bent. That says, let's get that tutu video, which now puts us only $64 away.
Come on, everyone, you can do it.
Hey, I just finished making a video today, and if we do it, then I will start making a video tomorrow, and it will involve a tutu. I will put a tutu on the Dapper Dinosaur. It's gonna happen.
Oh, so cute.
Tutu, why not a muumuu? Just because that's what we decided on. I don't know. I guess I didn't even think of a muumuu. Plus, if I'm being honest, I feel like it would be a lot easier to make a tutu in 3D than a muumuu. So we're gonna go with a tutu. That's another big reason.
Look, he never looked better. Pulse and heart rate look good. No, I'm sorry. He's a goner, okay? Don't be the last one off the boat. It is sinking. Evolution's based on 2 faulty assumptions. Number 1, they say mutations make something new. That's never been observed. Number 2, natural selection makes it survive and take over the population. Evolution is actually a religion of death. In order for evolution to work...
Dum, dum, dum! Like the religion about a guy who came to Earth specifically to die isn't a religion about death. Specifically to save you from the death that Adam cursed you with. It's like, are there religions that aren't about death? Like, really, are there?
This is also very bold of Kent. This is a bold angle to take with all the old folks that are in the room. Because we recently had that big pan-up shot, and there are a lot of geriatrics hanging around in this church. I don't know that I'd be bringing death up with all that.
You know what? Rest in peace, everyone in the audience of this video.
Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah, damn. Oh, that's dark,
I
but
just,
true.
I just drank to all of them right there. And we have a $199 super chat from Vandalia1998, who was on the channel recently doing a Leaving Old Earth Creationism. And he says, "Hey, Erica, can't wait to see you Saturday."
Excited. We're talking primates.
Well, as you well should, because you know what? I may be a bit of a diapsid chauvinist, but primates are pretty cool too.
And I also enjoy diapsid. So it's one of those things where it's like who's president, who's runner up, you know, the VP in my life.
Exactly. And it's a little bit reversed for me, but we both share a great appreciation for both groups of organisms. So
there's just so many weirdos in both, and that's what makes them so fun.
It's true.
One animal evolves a little better than the rest. What must happen to the rest of them to make this thing work? They gotta die.
Well, that was stupid.
That's pretty dumb.
All they have to do is have less reproductive success, Kent. Like,
also, that's just life in general. Like, I don't know. Life can't exist without death. I mean, that's a little existential, but it really is the case. Evolution is just amplifying traits that kind of make you have a higher success rate of living longer, not necessarily living longer, but at least pushing your progeny on it at a higher rate.
Right. Which can sometimes just involve living longer. Like, you know, if you only live long enough to reproduce once or twice and someone else lives long enough to reproduce 5 times, well then, guess whose genes are going to be more in a higher percentage in future generations.
Yeah, totally.
So, which unfortunately is something that my high school biology teacher did not really grasp, because I asked him a question. I was like, well, and I mean, of course, I was in high school, so I wasn't using these technical terms, but I essentially asked him, what about like differential reproductive success? And he was like, nah, things just die and don't reproduce, or they reproduce. I was like, that doesn't seem right, but I don't know enough to question it. So yeah, I just let it go.
There's so much in the realm too of like direct versus indirect fiction or fitness.
Right.
almost a fiction. So it's like there's so many behaviors that can be selected for at kind of like a gradient, because even though they might be slightly detrimental to the one who's experiencing it, they're going to push the genes on of their kin. So it's like usually in group living animals, but.
And we just got $10 from Maya Atkinson. Love you, Maya. You are probably my most reliably present mod. So there you go. And also, she says, just because I heard Dino in Tutu, and that's true, we are now only $52 away. So we're getting there.
Getting close.
We're getting there. Oh, yeah.
Or else the new improved gene is swamped back into the gene code. The question is so simple and profound. Did man bring death into the world like the Bible says? Or did death bring man into the world?
Can't
like
it be
evolution
both?
Says? Somebody is wrong. Textbook says there are mutations,
Oh, Kent
and they
was
are
right.
the original
Somebody is
source
wrong.
of very...
Oh, that's
It's
true.
Kent.
Somebody is wrong, and it is Kent. I'll
That's
drink to
true.
that.
I'd also drink to
Oh,
that
and
horrible clip art.
And $20 from Bob Knob says, I want to punch Kent in the jeans. Thank you very much for your generous super chat, everyone. And now we are only, what is that, $32 away? It could happen. This could be the night we do it. And if it's what's happened, yeah, I'm gonna put a tutu on the Dapper Dino. It's gonna happen. He's still gonna wear the top hat and the monocle and the tie, though. It's just additional clothing.
Yes, an added bonus.
Exactly.
variation in populations. I agree, mutations happen, no question. But mutations do not produce any evolution. Mutations are scrambling up existing genetic code. They're not making anything new. There's a five-legged bull. That's a mutant.
No, it's not, Kent. That's an instance of a failed twin, basically. All these supernumerary organs are, like, they're not heritable. It's like if you find someone who's a conjoined twin and they have kids, their kids aren't conjoined twins because their parents were. That's not how any of this works.
He's pulling out like the most sort of like freak showy versions of this. And because and obviously there would be zero selection that I could think of to have an extra leg on the hump of your back, regardless.
Yeah, it's the whole. Yeah, not only is it almost certainly not a mutation. Oh, Godzilla. So yeah. By the way, in case anyone is wondering, Godzilla is my Facebook Messenger notification sound. So anytime anyone sends me a Facebook message, Godzilla roars. So there you go.
Just letting you know.
That's how people. Yeah, Godzilla is like, hey man, someone wants to talk to you, and it's only ever like 3 people. So
There's no new information added. He already had the information on how to make a leg. It just made one in the wrong place. That's all. It's not new information. It is scrambled information.
Yeah, because limb bud growth isn't signaled by anything. It just sort of happens.
Also, to even get into it is exhausting, but it's like Kent also has no idea that pretty much there is no novel addition of a trait in evolution. Like, we're always dealing with sort of an adaptation or a sort of a retrofitting of a previous structure or chemical combination or sort of gene segment or whatever.
Godzilla.
Whether it's repeating digits or lengthening a long bone or whatever.
And
it's arbitrary in the long run. Like, I mean, not arbitrary for the organism.
My goodness, someone really wants to talk to me. I bet it's Brittany.
Good, I'll be hydrated.
Probably.
This isn't hydrating me. This is doing the opposite.
Yeah, not for you, but for me.
What was it? Oh, the closest you can really get to a new thing is if you get like a whole gene duplication or more, and then something in there then goes through. I'm drinking again. Ben, is this you?
Might be.
Oh my goodness.
There's been 4 that haven't been me. So.
Okay, well, Bird just sent 6969 sex.
That's a lot of sex.
That's a lot of sex.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Exactly. I wanted to make this donation. Oh my goodness. I'm going to try and read it, but is that you, Ben?
No.
Okay.
I promise it's not.
I've wanted to make this donation based on just the joke, based on the name of my native currency, but now I'm also doing it for a greater cause. Thank you very much, Burn, for your 69.69 secs. It is greatly appreciated. And we are now only $25 away from the tutu video. So there you go. That's how we stand. But you know what? It is about time for a refresher, because we also just got a Godzilla and a $1.99 super chat from Vandalia1998. 5 legs, the birth of the quintupod clade. Yes, that is exactly what we just witnessed in this picture. So,
this is it. This is the pinnacle.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit more, and when either of you has something to say, I'm going to pause it, and then I'm going to grab myself a drink, and by the time I come back, maybe you guys will be ready for more video.
Here's a short-legged sheep. Again, no new information. And by the way, that's not beneficial. He's the first one the wolf is going to catch. Right? Go, boys, go. Here comes the wolf. Brrr. Oh, Herman didn't make it. There's a two-headed lamb.
I like when Kent puts in a little bit of extra humor, really just to keep us in, you know. He sprinkles it in and that crowd eats it up.
I think he did say something true, though. The wolf will probably catch that one first. So I can drink to that.
I'll drink to that. That's fair enough. The two-headed lamb. Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Bob Knob is doing all the messaging. All the Godzilla sounds. Because I know they're friends on Facebook, so.
Oh, man. Yeah, you gotta love it when he brings up completely irrelevant sort of.
All right, I did hear that Godzilla, and I did drink for it. So
You had a few.
All right, wait, I had a few. How many did I have? And don't lie. Oh, there's another one.
Lost count. I think there were 2 or 3.
Well, there we go. I just had 3 extra gulps of this. Oh my goodness! I'm gonna die. Why did I make this rule?
You should not have told Bob Knob that.
Oh, it's Bob Knob. Is it? I'm gonna check. If it's Bob Knob. Oh, wait, could be Brittany. Let's be fair.
Could be both working in tandem.
No, well, okay, some of it is Brittany, but a lot of it is Bob Knob. And one of his messages is Godzilla drink.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh, he does, and
That's so Bob Knob.
I mean, it's not like he's wrong. All right.
Mutant. It's not beneficial. Two-headed turtle. That's a mutant. Not ninja, but it's mutant. Okay.
I kind of want one.
Oh, gosh.
I do like that shameless Ninja Turtle plug.
Yeah, it's very 90s. And by the way, we are currently $23 away. I don't know exactly because YouTube rounds off chat revenue to the nearest dollar. Or no, sorry, it rounds off to the nearest 10 cents, I think. So, 23-ish, basically. If
Getting there.
Yeah, if it says 100, that's it. We do a tutu video.
No.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to freeze first winter because nobody makes a double neck turtleneck sweater.
Ooh, I don't like that.
He's just not.
I don't like that drawing.
Scramble.
No, you know what? For no reason at all, it reminds me of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's like a cutesy version.
It's got that weird watercolor thing going on.
Yeah. Oh, also.
Yeah. No, I see it. I don't like that. Huh? I don't like it.
You know what really impressed me was when they did the movie adaptation of that. They actually made the monsters look like the art.
Yeah, and I think that was a good way to go because you would have had riots. A lot of people really liked the art style is what sold that book.
Oh, I love that art. Look, I loved that book when I was a kid, and that art gave me nightmares, but I loved it anyway.
Yeah, it was good. I was a fan as well.
And for $4.99, Vandalia 1998, who has super chat. Oh my goodness, Vandalia, you're like a super chatting fiend right now. He says, yes, Kent the short-legged lamb would get caught. That's how natural selection works. And yes, it is. Putting us $18 away. Only $18. So we could actually be seeing. And there's almost certainly from Bob Knob.
He just lets you fall into a false sense of security.
I know. He was like, I'll lull him.
Filling up the letters of the word Christmas will get you all sorts of different words. But it will never get you Xerox, zebra, or queen. The letters aren't available.
Okay.
This textbook shows the kids
Ken said something true.
Yeah, okay, that's true. He did say something true. I'm drinking on that one. Man, I'm going to get drunker than I thought on this.
The thing is that he doesn't appreciate that having the entire alphabet at your disposal as like potential is the same thing as having all 4 base pairs, or if you're dealing with DNA or RNA, right? I mean, it's the same thing either way. It's just combinations and where the combinations are occurring. So
exactly, and the thing is, it's like what I always want to know in these situations is like, which mutation do you think is impossible? Because unless you can come up with which ones are impossible and why, then I can make anything out of the genetic code of anything.
No, exactly. And then he just, his exact answer is always, well, do you think you're ever going to get like wings on a pine tree or something like that? And it's like, well, I mean, that's literally one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. But under circumstances, perhaps spanning hundreds of millions of years.
Well, what about those?
Get something similar.
What about those seeds that whirl as they fall from the trees in order to help with their dispersal? That's basically a wing. Oh,
I'm thinking more of like a sort of proto-musculature or whatever, like in Venus flytraps, where it's actually got at least minimal control over at least like a stimulus trigger.
Yeah, it totally could. And we just had 2 more super chats. We got €5 from Jens van Broekhoven, who says, Kent made me do this. And $2 dues. I'm going to drink for the $1 dues.
Always for
Which,
$1
in case anyone isn't clear on that, that's what I call Australian dollars. Because the fact that they're not actually called $1 dues personally offends me. So
fair enough. I think that's fair. It would have been a small change.
And he says, mutation, really, Kent? $15 to go. In fact, it's less than $15. We're currently sitting at $11. So there you go, $11.
Fly, which by the way cannot fly, and it says, boys and girls, normal fruit flies have 2 wings. This mutant has 4. This rare mutation, like most mutations, is harmful. Then it says, beneficial mutations are the raw material for natural selection. Now, hold on a minute. Why don't they show us an example of a beneficial mutation?
Drink for Godzilla.
Why did they tell us about the good ones and not show us a picture of a good one?
Because the good ones are usually super subtle, and the bad ones are really obvious.
It's like, oh, hey, this animal had a slight mutation that makes its heme group slightly better at oxygen transport. Let's take a picture of it.
Yeah, kids, know how kids love the heme groups much more than their four winged flies.
Drinking. Actually, I just watched a whole video about different oxygen transport proteins, including hemoglobin, hemocyanin, hemerythrin, all sorts of cool stuff. Did you know that not brachiopods. Brachiopods. They have purple blood.
What?
Yeah, like Star Trek 6 Klingons. Yeah.
Good for them.
So now we know that Klingons in Star Trek 6 have hemerythrin, and in all of the other Star Trek instances where Klingons have blood, it's red, so I guess they just have hemoglobin, which is now boring.
Well, and we know that they are perhaps closely related to the brachiopods. Is it possible they are also mollusks?
Well, the de-evolved Worf in the de-evolution episode did seem to have some kind of carapace. So, maybe. Although he seemed more like an episode. No, it wasn't. Stop lying. That was a terrible episode.
No, it was great. I love it.
No. Oh, drink for Godzilla. The thing that bothered me was the inconsistency, because a human de-evolved into a giant spider monster, and now, Erica, you're better at primates than I am. Are there any giant spider monstries in the evolutionary history of any primates?
The closest thing we have to a spider is a spider monkey.
So, do spider monkeys spin webs?
Not in the slightest.
Okay.
I'm just strictly in its entomology. Or entomology.
Oh. All right, so for that reason alone, I'm going to go ahead and say it was a bad episode, because a human turned into a spider monster while everyone was quote-unquote de-evolving, whatever that means.
Yeah, I think arthropods are like one of the most distant splits, right? It's pretty we're closer to them than plants, right? But not most of the animals.
An arthropod is as far away as you can get while still being a bilaterian from a human. Oh, drink. Oh, twice for Godzilla.
That was 3.
3 times.
3.
Or Bob Knob is going crazy.
You
Bob, I
slammed
need to
us.
be able to survive. I need to be able to survive. But yeah, so, oh my goodness.
You're gonna have to block it.
At some point I might. All right.
You know why they didn't show a picture of a good mutation? Because nobody's ever seen one.
My second drink is halfway
There's
gone.
never been one beneficial mutation. I said that in a debate one time, and this atheist said, Hopeman, you're lying. He said, I can name a beneficial mutation right now. He said, people in Africa that get sickle cell anemia are less likely to get malaria. I said, that's brilliant, sir. That's like saying if you cut off your legs, you can't get athlete's foot.
It's true. Okay, yeah, but if athlete's foot were a fatal disease that was like rampant all across Africa, maybe losing your feet would actually be a benefit. If it was like, oh, hey, everyone in Africa has like an 80% chance of dying of athlete's foot if they have feet, then you know what? Maybe people would evolve to not have feet.
The way that he puts this it really betrays the lack of understanding, because sickle cell anemia is only considered a beneficial mutation because it's almost completely by accident that there's a nice side effect of preventing or at least severely discouraging malaria for those who are carriers. Right. It's not like that was the intent of either the malaria, the actual disease, to not be able to infect those with the who are carriers, nor for sickle cell anemia. It's the evolution is made of happy accidents. This guy kills me, honestly.
And also, I want to read this from translator Carminum, who I only recently figured out that the name was Carminum, and he pointed out that it was Latin, and that's how I figured it out, because I was like, oh, okay, because before I was like speed reading it. Anyway, he says, what really bugs me about Star Trek is how all these presumably independent lines of evolution on all these different planets happen to reliably end up with vaguely humanoid shapes. There was actually a whole episode of Star Trek The Next Generation about that, where apparently like this ancient species that was sort of like generically humanoid, they look like humans if you put them in the microwave for a bit too long or something. Like they seeded all these different planets with life, and they pre-programmed the life somehow to end up looking like them for some reason. It didn't make a whole lot of sense, but at least it was something.
It's a nice effort. There's some really cool like speculative evolution books out there that go into kind of what perhaps life could look like were it to not emerge in the same trajectory that life on Earth has. Like I think Expedition is one of them.
Wayne Barlow's Expedition, Which there was also a pretty good Discovery Channel docufiction called Alien Planet based on that book.
Alien Planet, Darwin 4. I had that shit on DVD.
Yeah.
I got it from the Discovery Channel store that they used to have in my local mall. So
nice.
for the youngsters out there, that's 3 words that we don't hear very much anymore.
That also reminds me, I might have a couple ideas for speculative evolution projects.
I would love to be involved in a speculative evolution project because I barely missed Benji Thomas's, and I had a cool primate kind of style animal. It was bummed.
I'll tell you what, there are a couple of them that I'm thinking of putting in sort of the same fictional world, one of which might actually even involve ancient aliens. So stay tuned on that.
A community?
I would like to open up some things to some community stuff. There's going to be... I'm going to have some vetting power over community submissions. So if you submit something, that isn't a guarantee that I will add it to the list of things. But my plan is to go through sort of chronologically. So my plan right now is I have sort of a fictional setting that I can just put this in as an excuse as to why we have information about this. But there's 2 planets, one of which has a completely independent biosphere from Earth. That's going to be the crazy one. And then there's going to be another one that was mysteriously seeded with some Earth life from a couple 100 million years ago. So we're going to start drinking. Yep. So one of them is going to be fairly explicitly speculative, like zoology / botany. And the other one is going to be just completely speculative evolution with no particular ties to animal life or plant life on Earth. Except perhaps thematically, because, you know, animals are fun, so we'll have some animal analogs.
Yeah. Well, you can, yeah, they can be like, I mean, you can make up some cool cladistics for it, right?
Exactly.
They're both negative, okay? Then they say evolution and natural selection go together. This one says natural selection causes evolution. That's a lie. Natural selection selects. It doesn't create anything. Natural selection is not a creative force. So
Kent is right.
This to me in our debate. The fact that he's still saying this kills me.
Well, the thing is,
it's so simple. It is such an easy differentiation to make.
and the thing is, technically, he's right. Natural selection can't create new variation.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to drink for it because technically, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, it is correct. He acts like that you literally have a bunch of morons who are writing these biology textbooks.
I know.
And that they just thought, oh, we'll just squeeze this one by. Like, Kent's view of the scientific community is abysmal.
Yeah. Which, by the way, $11 to go. So we're like, I was about to hold my hand up, say, well, we're this close, but we're really close. So there you go. We're 89% of the way there. That's easy math for you.
okay,
Oh,
natural selection may be a stabilizing force, but is not a creative force. Anybody with half a brain can figure that out. Natural selection cannot create any properties. It can only select. This textbook says, evolution by natural selection had occurred in just 1 year. Oh, they're lying. It says natural
Wait, are they lying? What are they lying about? That can happen in it can happen in less than a year.
They're lying. Oh, okay.
Kent, the thing is that Kent accepts natural selection as a thing. So why would it have to be a lie that it happened rapidly? You need it to happen rapidly for your crazy arc story.
Is it possible that this is one of maybe his changed mind things? Also, I'm not sure that Kent is a subscriber of the hyperevolution deal. It's possible that that's more of an, like, AIG takes that more to the extreme. But Kent also,
maybe.
at least standing for truth, isn't comfortable saying that all of the apes.
Drinking for Godzilla.
Godzilla Smash.
That coincided with an $11 super chat from Bob Knob for Godzilla Smash. We have hit the $100 target. So guess what, everybody? The video that I start making tomorrow is going to involve a tutu.
Excellent.
So,
I'm so glad to be a part of this.
there you go. Erica, you were key. I'm sure that if the beautiful gut-sick Gibbon were not here drinking her tea to help with her unfortunately sick gut, that we would not have hit the $100.
My cheese and my grapes, my water. It was pivotal.
But let's be honest, Erica. I mean, I brought you on for eye candy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No one cares. No one cares about primates.
Yeah, I get all dolled up for this. That's how it works.
Oh yeah, just caked in makeup. I can tell.
That's my style. What can I say?
I'm actually kind of surprised that Kent hasn't made any of those, like, why don't you stick to makeup tutorial comments about you?
You know, the thing is that I his condescension. I get the feeling that there's a little bit of kind of that attitude rooted in there, but I don't have enough to make any claims. So I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but
yeah,
you know.
it's a little iffy. Like, he said it about Rachel Oates, but then again, Rachel Oates also has a very distinctive style of makeup, and so part of me can be like, well, maybe that's where he's getting it from, because she obviously does very specific things with her makeup, and so, like, that's a part of her. I don't know if that's a part of her normally, but it's certainly a part of her online persona.
And the thing is, though, the thing also is like with standing, like he very frequently will, like, address me by name, which is a bit strange. I've never seen him do that with anybody else.
He did it with me in my debate with him.
Oh, good. That makes me feel.
He called me Timothy, but then again, that was the only name he had for me, other than Dapper Dino. But I think Kent is from an era where using screen names in direct address in voice seems weird, and it doesn't bother me. Like, he can call me Timothy all day. It's fine. That's my name. I gave it to him on purpose.
Yeah. That's I did the same thing, and I just kind of end up using Erica now more than I use Gutsick Gibbon. But I like linking them.
Yeah, well, plus, if you stop using Gutsick Gibbon, then you can't use that adorable Gibbon in your intro videos.
No, exactly. exactly. That's actually half the reason.
Yeah, I love that thing.
Much of this.
Yeah, in fact, actually, got Sick Gibbon channel should be linked in the description. But either way, mods, go put links to Erica's channel, because anyone who's watching this who isn't subscribed to Erica should be. No, you have great content. I love your content.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That means I'm doing something right.
You are. You're putting out cool information, and like I love your Halloween video about the cryptid primates. That was so much fun. I had a blast.
I enjoyed making that one. And that one is like one of my poorest performing videos too. And I was like, damn, it's fun.
Everyone, and I'm talking everyone, after this stream ends, go watch Erica's video about cryptid primates. That was her Halloween special, because I actually, like, that was like what I watched during lunch like a few weeks ago. I was like, oh, this sounds like fun, and I made myself a little lunch, and I sat down in front of my TV, and I turned on YouTube, and that's what I watched, and I had a blast. So go watch it.
Sufficiently spooky, I hope.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, man. All right, I can do about one more segment, and I got to go to bed, because
what is it, 2 a.m.?
Yeah, it's 2 a.m. or it's only, yeah, it's 2:10. But I'm trying to make I'm going to a musical tomorrow. I'm seeing the Book of Mormon, so I'm excited.
Well, have fun with that.
Evolution,
Yeah,
it's a lie. Natural selection selects. It doesn't create a thing. If you worked in a factory that made cars.
That's not a lie, Kent. That's just true, and you know it's true. You accept it's true. That's part of your idea.
Kent, God, that he kills me with that, because the thing is you know he's smarter than this. You know, I don't even believe that in this time period Kent didn't understand what natural selection was in relation to mutation and evolution. I don't believe.
Yeah. He had to. And in fact, the video that I made today, one of the things I go into is that, or actually, it's in the video series I'm making, because I have the whole script set, but I haven't, recorded everything. I go into the fact that a lot of creationists will say things like, oh, all of the variation, like the genetic variation that evolution gets to select off of, is preloaded into these kinds. And Kent does go into right. But the problem is that if you're saying that every modern animal in one of these quote-unquote kinds, and while creationists won't define them, they'll occasionally identify them. They'll say, oh, this is a kind.
Sometimes.
Right. But the thing is that there's too much genetic variation in every single one of them to have resulted from two mating pairs. And so they talked about the feline kind, so all felids are in a kind. And I said, okay, well, let's just look at just mitochondrial genetic diversity in just the clouded leopard. Oh, there's like 9 mtDNA haplogroups? I guess there must be a whole lot more genetic diversity coming out of these two individuals, so we must be able to add genetic diversity. So
it's even worse when you go into like bats, right? There are more species of bat than there are chiropterans than there are any other kind of mammal.
Oh yeah.
And we're to assume that these come from two kinds of bats. I think in a conversation that Standing for Truth had with CRISPR, he mentioned that the amount of genetic variation that you would have to have in those individual two bat pairs would like dwarf the entire bat genome today.
Oh yeah,
like the average bat genome.
Right.
You just dwarf it. There's no way. It's impossible.
You've got like crazy polyploid bats coming off the ark, I guess. Maybe if everything was super polyploid.
Really wacky.
Also, we have a €2 super chat from Jens van Broekhoven that says, just for Erica. So Erica, if you'd like, you can get me some payment info, and I'll send those €2 along.
Don't even. I don't. One of these days I'm going to get a Patreon, and one of these days I'm going to start streaming, and then I expect everyone to show up. Attendance is mandatory.
If you don't show up, Erica's going to beat you, which, depending on who you are, you might enjoy that more, so you do you.
Listen, I've got really bony knuckles. You don't want to be hit by these. Trust me.
Hey, you know what? I'm not here to shame anyone. Someone might like that.
No, that's true. You would be shocked and horrified, I'm sure.
I don't know. I've seen some things. I've been around for a few million years.
Fair enough.
How far is the Saturn plant from here? Pretty close, isn't it? How many of you work? Anybody here work in the Saturn plant? Okay. Suppose you work in quality control.
Saturns.
Your job was to check the car when they got done building it, kick the tires, slam the doors, and drive it around. See if it runs. If you caught every single mistake, they don't, by the way, but if you did, okay, how long would it take that quality control process to change the car to an airplane?
Do you think that he doesn't know that there are genetic algorithms that have actually designed working airplanes?
I genuinely, I mean, at this point in time, I could potentially give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Okay.
But today, certainly not. Not with all the time he's had to look into it, because you can play games about genetic algorithms online that are like flat games.
In fact, you know what? When I was in high school, one of my favorite games was Creatures 2. You ever play Creatures 2 or 3? There was a third one. I played that a lot too.
I didn't play Creature. I played Spore when it came out, which most people huge disappointment, but I had a good time.
Hey, you know what? You're in good company, because guess which two people spent a lot of time in the Navy when they weren't otherwise working, playing Spore and doing Spore races on their laptops.
Dude, Spore is so fun. I love Spore.
Yeah.
I haven't played Spore since yesterday.
Yeah, so Benthoven and I, when we were in the Navy together, we spent a lot of time playing Spore together. So there you go.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that tough Navy guys also enjoy creating creatures in Spore.
But so Creatures 2 and especially 3, I think, because 3 was a bit more advanced. It had these artificial organisms that had a very long genetic code, and it always carried genes in about the same order. But there could be gene duplications, there could be mutations in the code underlying the genes, and then these creatures would mate. And so what the computer would do is, first, it would basically, like a 50-50 chance, it would trade one gene out from one parent or the other. And so this isn't super realistic, because we're not using like linkage groups and chromosomes and whatever. Sure.
It's like a basal version, right?
Right.
It's simple enough to understand.
But then it would randomly alter certain sections of whatever genes were in there in the actual code in the program. And then that would be the genetic code for the resulting offspring. And sometimes it would just result in non-viable organisms. Sometimes you would hatch one of these things and it would just die because of some fatal error. But other times there would actually be improvements. Like you would get ones that were immune to certain diseases because the game had diseases, it had predators, it had food. You would get ones that needed less food. And sometimes you would even get ones that would simply stop aging at a certain point. And then suddenly their genetics started to predominate, even if there were other problems, because they just kept having babies. And so there were all of these things, and there was this actual genetic code going on. And one of the things is that it would keep track of how many generations from the initial seed population each creature was. So it would keep a number, and you could see. And the thing is that the higher the number was, on average, the better these things did at just not dying. Because when they start out, oh my god, are they dumb.
No, I believe that. They
just wander into the jungle, get a disease, bring it back home, wander back into the jungle, and get killed by a predator.
And the thing is that when you really sit and mull it over, that's probably not super far off in certain periods in our planet's history.
Yep.
Like that's probably not that far off from like a grand scale perspective, which is hilarious and tragic.
Yep. And actually, if I remember correctly, the expansion for Creatures 3, Creatures Docking Station, which allows creatures to teleport basically between people's computers if they're connected to the network, is free to play. It's free to play. So if you want to be part of some gigantic artificial life evolution program, just go get Creatures Docking Station and wait for some creatures to teleport into your computer. Also, $1 from Vandalia 1998. Herbivore, omnivore, or carnivore, path and spore. I believe that is for Bent.
Sorry, I was muted. All of the above.
Oh, so
I've done them all.
Well, what did you do in your last playthrough? Because you were playing yesterday.
I did carnivore. I did herbivore. Trying to remember because I played a couple weeks ago and then I stopped in the tribal stage and then I picked up from that yesterday. So.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think you did herbivore.
I did herbivore, but at the end I took a carnivore mouth also.
Yeah,
so I could do.
Yeah.
So I could do omnivore.
Okay.
In the tribal stage.
Okay. I mean, it is easiest to be an omnivore on the tribal stage. So I'll give you that.
I always found the tribal stage somewhat tricky. When I was quite young when I first started playing Spore, and the first time I got to the tribal stage, I was like, this is so much different than the past two because you're controlling groups rather than just a single.
Right.
And so it took a while to coordinate, figuring all of that out.
And now you're a StarCraft champion.
Yes, of course.
Let's get a little bit more Kent in here.
You say, Hovind, quality control can't change it to something else. Oh, I know. Only design engineers can change it. And God's natural selection is a quality control that will never change it to a different animal. It'll just make sure you get a good animal, that's all. They keep talking about survival of the...
But you think that horses and zebras both descend from the same non-horse, non-zebra ancestor, so...
Which is weird, because then he'll, in the same breath, start talking about the chromosome stuff, right? How it's like, oh, well, same different chromosomes. It's all about if they can beget after their kind.
Right.
Right. And it's like, how many zonkies and how many zorses are coming out fertile?
Well, almost none. I can't say quite none, because it does happen occasionally.
I think if the female is a horse, I want to say the odds are a little bit better. So a zonk. No, zonky. No, a zorse. A zorse. Male zebra, female horse.
From what I remember, at least for mules, I don't remember for zonkies or zorses or anything like that. But whatever I remember for mules and hinnies, by the way, about 1 in 1,000 female mule or hinnies can manage to carry a foal to term, but only if the father is of one of those species, and I don't remember which one it is. So the father has to be either a horse or an ass, a donkey.
Right.
Oh,
And
demonetized.
The wild thing is that Kent is under the impression that that's how speciation happens, with no concept of ring species or what the difference is between a divergence time and a speciation time. These things don't compute.
Yeah. Yeah, Wait, are you saying that his ideas aren't internally coherent?
I know. Wild, isn't it?
Shock! Horror!
And how?
Fittest. Well, I agree, but that doesn't explain arrival of the fittest. And even survival of the fittest is pretty shaky.
You know what? You're right. Natural selection doesn't. I'll drink to it. Because you're ignoring all those mutations.
It's what's called a tautology, a sentence that means nothing.
No, that's not.
I'll show you.
Well,
If you say, Professor,
That was pretty
why did it
dumb.
survive?
all right, yeah, it's dumb enough.
Because
I'll
it's
drink
quite
to it.
dumb.
survival of the fittest. How do you know it's the fittest? Because
And I am
survival
out
follows
of
from
drink
the
right now.
Uh-oh. Better go get some.
Look, if a whale
we'll
goes
be
through a
back
school of
shortly.
fish and eats 80% of them, it's not survival of the fittest. It's actually survival of the luckiest.
Oh, wait. Does that mean that no one ever thought of genetic drift? Also, I think... Oh, no, Erica is still here. For some reason, you weren't popping up on the screen. Bent is. Even though
Not
his
me.
camera's off. Weird.
Hey, I'm a big fan of this art, though. I do quite like it.
Oh, yeah?
I think that whale is pretty cute. I'm a fan of the whale, but also survival of the luckiest. That's the one of the silliest things he said over the course of this entire presentation. He just spent time talking about how natural selection is a legitimate thing, even if it doesn't bring organisms to fruition, so to speak. But it's not survival of the luckiest. Yes, of course, chance is an aspect. You can have the fittest animal ever, but if its mother dies when it's still, breastfeeding, it's going to die.
Wait.
That's just how.
Oh,
how it
right.
works.
I forgot you're a mammal. The whole breastfeeding thing. Weird.
I know. But
just
imagine
have
that.
crop milk like a normal person.
Lactation.
No.
Chore.
No, excrete nutritive substances into your crop and then vomit them into the mouth of your waiting offspring, like a normal person.
They love it so much too.
Oh,
They love the crop.
Oh, you know what's weird? I found out recently that because of their diet, flamingo crop milk tends to be blood red.
I actually saw a picture of that the other day, and when I was in Strasbourg in France, we went to a local kind of zoo sort of situation, and we saw several flamingos doing their weird filter feeding upside down thing that they do with their proto-baleen type stuff, whatever's going on in their beak. I'm not a bird person. But yeah, they there were no young, but I was thinking about it at the time, and I was like, oh my god, how how horrifying. And then the flamingos got chased off by the resident goose. It was really funny.
Geese are dicks.
Yeah, this goose was like absolutely roasting these flamingos. It was doing that thing where it charges with the wings out to the side, and I was like, oh my god, don't these guys know they're bigger? It was a small one.
You know, the thing about those wings though is they got claws.
Fair.
Yeah.
And they're powerful too.
Yeah, goose wings have prominent thumb claws. You don't see them when their wings are tucked onto their sides, but if you look carefully, which why would you? Because you're probably going to start running away. But yeah, no, they have real claws on their thumbs, and they'll cut you.
I would not mess with a goose. If I when I see geese coming my way, I move.
I as a rule, I don't mess with a goose. But is that how dinosaurs do it? I'm not even sure, Nikki, but probably. I'll just go with yes. I'm not even sure what the context was there. But I don't mess with geese without a weapon.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
yes.
Last time I messed with geese, it's because they were standing in the road outside of the house I was living in, and people were honking their horn at the geese to try to get them to move, which, by the way, that doesn't work. Don't do it. Just
the geese, that just makes them angrier.
Right. So I was working nights at the time, and of course this was happening in the middle of the day when I was supposed to be sleeping. So I got a broom, and I started going out into the street to clear out the geese. And I took a weapon, because I wasn't going to go out there with my bare hands. And so, yeah, I started swinging a broom at geese, not bristleside first, because I was not happy with these geese. Like if you were looking to right. They were either going to get out of the way or they were going to get hurt. Because the thing is, I also didn't slow down for the geese when getting to my house. The goose wanted to stay in the road; it could get hit. It turns out, drink for Godzilla. But yeah, it turns out geese don't want to get hit. Drink again. And they will get out of the way unless you slow down. And a third time, I'm going to assume that's all Bob Knob, but I'm actually going to check. So give me a second here.
The only time I've ever been brave enough to confront a goose was when I was out with my 2 golden retrievers. This was a couple of years ago. I was walking them on a golf course, and there was no one around, so I took them off their leashes so that they could run. And my curious, the younger female, she's like super curious, and so she saw this flock of geese, and she went to go investigate. And they just descended upon her like and she comes shooting across the field. You know, she's got her tail between her legs and she's outrunning them, but they are on her tail. And so she came over to me and I was like waving my arms trying to get these geese to leave, and then the two of us fled together.
Yeah, geese are the worst. But
they are.
To talk real quickly about the Ken Hovind thing. Even if we go with this whole survival of the luckiest, it's not like the modern evolutionary synthesis has no place for genetic drift, which is what this is.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, luck is, of course, an aspect. It's just like to think that chance has a greater hand, not including mutations, to think that chance has a greater influence than any kind of selective pressure. Once an organism is like sort of a juvenile or an adult or even an infant, I suppose, born. Is silly.
So the primary cause of my hangover tomorrow has just asked, is Erica sure it wasn't a flock of seagulls?
I have a colleague who did her, she's actually in her second master's program right now. She did her first one on gulls. It was in evolutionary biology. She has this horror story about working in this small island off kind of the boot of Italy, because she's Italian, of one of her people who was working with her, going to investigate a group of gulls that were kind of hanging out together on this rocky outcropping. So she goes to get a better look, and this third gull ambushes her from the sky and is scraping with its claws like on her head and pecking at her. And she tells me, she's like, and she's a small girl. She's like, I physically had to get a stick and whack the gull right off her head because it was so like being so aggressive, and they had to like take this girl to a local hospital. That's how like deep the lacerations were.
Oh my goodness! I mean, it's
just fine.
It's
but
kind of funny, but like, oof.
It was hilarious. I was like, can you imagine getting that roughed up by a gull? And then I was like, actually, yeah, I can.
Yeah, look, people make fun of dinosaurs for having their only representatives be birds. That's just because you haven't been in a fight with many birds. Because let me tell you, there are plenty of birds that will mess you up.
Also, there's a reason why most monkeys that live anywhere near birds of prey flee to the treetops the second the shadow appears. I mean, we are wired to dislike They're predators. They're
It's
predators.
almost like that might be a better explanation for dragon myths than late surviving non-avian dinosaurs.
Almost.
Almost. I mean, I'm sure that's not the case. It's actually real interpretations of actual dinosaurs. That's the better option.
Yeah. Obviously, St. George was messing with the baryonyx.
All right, and almost entirely as a result of one particular member of the chat, I am out of second drink. Can you believe it?
I honestly can. It's just because they really wanted that tutu, you know?
Well, I mean, it's primarily because this particular member of chat has been messaging me on Facebook with repeated thumbs ups.
Mm-hmm.
He's just looking out for you.
Yeah, he wants to make sure that I don't let any of that vodka go to waste. Or any of the coconut water that I have for tomorrow, because I'm going to need it.
I'm on drink number 4 right now.
You're at what? Drink 4?
I'm on drink number 4 right now.
Man. All right, so what we're going to do is the same as last time. I'm going to let this go until we have something to say, and then I'm going to leave and let people say it and come back. Oh, my goodness. He heard me. He heard me.
Dapper D, I think I gotta go. It's 2:30.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, it is 2:30. Erica, thank you so much for coming. It's been a lot of fun.
For having me, as usual. You know I love to come on.
Oh, I know. And we love to have you on. Everyone loves having you on. And
good night, Erica.
And look forward to our debate with Kent Hovind, because we're going to be scheduling that. I'm going to be sending that email to Kent Hovind's secretary tomorrow morning, probably.
Excellent.
And I've informed Kent that we have to do it before the 18th, because you are off to the jungle or something. I don't know. Yeah,
unfortunately, I'm going to be in a field camp in peninsular Malaysian jungle. So.
Oh, I'm sure you're going to hate every minute of it.
3 months.
That is actually a fairly long time. But yeah, so we are working on getting an actual debate with Erica and I against Kent Hovind. It might even just be on this channel. So.
Oh boy, I hope we can take him.
Oh, it's gonna be tough.
I know. It'll be difficult.
I'll probably even have to stay sober for
it. God forbid.
I was sober for my debate with him. So, were you sober for your debate with him? Be honest.
I was, unfortunately.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, thank you very much, Erica. It's, again, been an absolute pleasure. And everyone who isn't subscribed to Erica's channel, go subscribe right now.
Very sweet. Tie, you guys.
All right. Well, that was Erica the Gutsick Gibbon. And, yeah, let's, you know what? Vince, play everyone a song while I'm gone real quick. Oh, you're muted. Come off mute.
Through my speakers.
Yeah, so play a song. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to play everyone a song from the latest Copper Magma EP. I just have to get it ready and then turn the volume down at a reasonable volume, because it's going to be loud. Just go to coppermagma.com. Download. It's so loud. It's great to have Erica on the show. I don't get to talk much when it's them to go.
And I am back, and I did drink for that Godzilla. So here we go. More Kent with Bent.
That's what's really going on out there. But some of these scientists have the ability to make amazing observations and still come to the wrong conclusion.
What?
One day a bunch of scientists were going to see how far a frog could jump. They put their big old frog down there and said, "Jump, frog, jump." That frog jumped 80 inches. They brought the frog back, cut off one leg. Said, "Jump, frog, jump." He only jumped 70. They brought him back, cut off another leg.
Why does Kent think that the appropriate analogy for this is cutting off the legs of a frog? Like, that is so weird and gross. Like, I know
Kent tries to simplify things to the point where they're just so wrong and no one notices in his audience.
It's not just that it's wrong, it's like the blatant animal abuse, too. Like, this would be an extremely unethical experiment. Like, no one would actually do this experiment. Or if they did, they would run into serious problems with, like, ethics boards. Like, no one would publish this. Like, you can't just keep cutting legs off of frogs and just making them jump for no reason.
And I don't believe any of these numbers here.
Well, I mean, these are obviously made up, because I'm just going to, for the sake of my sanity, assume that none of this ever happened.
Said, jump, frog, jump. He went 60. They brought him back, cut off another leg. Said, jump, frog, jump. He jumped 50 inches. They brought the frog back, cut off his last leg.
What?
Is it 40, Kent? Did he jump 40 inches with no legs?
Well, let's find out.
And said, jump, frog, jump. You know, they expected he might go maybe, 40 based on the data.
Oh.
Actual jump was 0. The frog didn't move. They yelled louder, jump, frog. The frog never moved. The scientists were baffled. They tried the experiment again. New frog. Got the same results every time.
I like that everyone in the audience apparently finds this story, like, amusing instead of, like, why are you telling jokes about horribly torturing a frog?
They're laughing at those dumb scientists.
I guess. But I feel like his entire audience are, like, you know that weird kid in class who would, like burn ants for fun and, like, catch frogs only to throw them at trees and things?
Yeah.
I feel like his entire audience is that kid. The kid who probably grew up to be a serial killer?
No, his audience is people who don't know any better, and they think Kent is smarter than all the scientists put together, and scientists are just overpaid, stupid people.
And who apparently don't care at all about torturing animals for fun.
They're not even thinking about that.
I guess. It's the only thing I can think about is, like, why are you telling a joke about horribly torturing a frog? Like, look, I'm not, like, a huge animal rights guy. Like, I mean, I eat meat and dairy and eggs and whatnot. But, like, I'm not a big fan of torturing animals for stupid reasons. So
the brilliant scientists put their data together and said, you know what, folks, the frog jumped less as the legs were removed. Hey, that's a good observation. They got it right on the head. And they said,
technically true. I'll drink.
So we must conclude that a frog with no legs goes deaf. Bad
I gotta
conclusion.
prove to how stupid that
It's
was.
possible to have a good observation.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Also, I want to point out, you wondered how far we would get in this video. You weren't sure that we would get past an hour before during our hour. Yeah, we got to 105. That's about how much freedom costs. So, because freedom isn't free, it costs about $1.05. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Still come to the wrong conclusion, That's what they did with the fruit flies. They put them flies in the laboratory. They nuked them, microwaved them, x-rayed them. They did all kinds of mean things to those flies, and they got some weird-looking baby flies. They got flies with curled wings. They fly around, bzz, 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 couldn't go anywhere.
Oh, and you know what? Robert Adsit says, remember the reaction to his story of beating Eric? And yeah, that's a good point. Have you heard that story?
No, tell me that story.
Well, basically, we'll probably hear it at some point during Kent with Bent, but basically it goes, he says his son, people presume it's Eric, I don't know, it might actually be his other son, because he has two, but whatever, it doesn't matter, was at the dentist, and he kept squirming because he was scared of the dentist drill. So Kent took him out back and just beat him until he was in tears, and he said, all right, now, if you don't sit still, I'm going to beat you twice as hard next time. And if you don't do it again, I'm going to do it 3 times as hard. If you don't do it again, I'm going to do it 4 times as hard.
Kent said this?
Yeah. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here.
What?
And so...
Did he say, like, he spanked him, or what did he say?
He said he gave him a whooping, which feels ambiguous to me.
Okay.
But, yeah, so basically he was like, if you don't sit still for the dentist, I'm going to beat you until you do. And apparently that's a good thing. Never mind all the studies that say things like, corporal punishment actually is extremely ineffective at modifying behavior in children, and instead results in worse behavior in the long run. Whatever. Let's just beat kids until they sit still at the dentist. At least I guess Eric got his cavities filled.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, it does. Kind of like Kent is not such a great person.
They got flies with no wings at all.
Yeah.
What do you call that? A crawl or a walk? Can't fly.
Ha 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 ha.
They raised all these mutated flies in the laboratory and said, you know what, folks, fruit flies refuse to become anything but fruit flies.
No one said that.
Well, duh. So they said all mutations produce flies that were inferior to the original fly.
They didn't say that. I like how there's no citation. Like, Kent does give citations sometimes. Doesn't bother for this. You know why? Because no one said that.
Good observation. They said, so we must
Oh,
conclude
drink.
that flies have evolved as far as they can go. Oh, bad conclusion. You know, maybe you could conclude that God made them right to begin with, and all you're doing is messing them up in your laboratory. Mm-hmm. They were doing fine till you guys got
There's
hold of
that
them.
smugness.
And they say evolution's as fit as ever. Yep, fruit flies in the north have wings 4% larger than flies in the south. Well, that proves something to somebody somewhere, I'm sure. But it's still a fly, okay? Then they tell the kids, the peppered moth is proof for evolution. They counted the moths on the trees and found it was 95% light colored and 5% black. Then they burned coal in the factories and the trees turned black. And they counted the moths again. It was only 5% light and 95% black.
Those numbers seem overly convenient, but you know what? The overall story is about true, so I'll drink to it. Adam Morgan says, good night, Dapper Dino. I work early. It was great fun. Good night. And actually, we're not going to be on all that much longer. We're probably going to have about another 10 minutes of actual commentary and then some wrap-up stuff, and then we'll be off. And I don't know, I might go onto my alternative channel, which if any mods could link in the channel, it's Top Hats Off. I do things on there. Sometimes I stream drunk. Sometimes I do video game stuff. Sometimes I do art stuff. Sometimes I read literature. Who knows?
What might you do tonight on it?
I might do a wheel decide and then play the game that the wheel decides. And the wheel might be deciding between a very small number of games because there's only so many that I really want to play. But Kerbal Space Program is in there.
Even cooler.
So.
The problem is the entire story is a lie. They glued dead moths to the tree to take that picture for your kid's textbook. That's right.
Yeah, for a staged photo. Do you think that people were waiting for flies to happen to settle on the tree in front of their camera? Like, staging a photo doesn't make the entire story false. And drink for Godzilla. But yeah, please subscribe if you haven't to Top Hats Off. It's where I do my off-topic stuff. Unless you don't want to, in which case, don't. It's fine. It's not monetized. Yeah. It's whatever.
Right here. Where's this book used at, brother? It's not used anymore. Peppered moth. It's still in the new books, though. Evidence for evolution. Those are dead moths glued on a tree, because after 40 years of watching, they found a grand total of 2 moths on the trees.
In fact, that is a lie, and the peppered moth has a tendency to rest on trees at the meeting point of branches or branches and the trunk. So at those little angles, that's where it tends to rest. And in fact, yeah, the coloration of the moths can determine how visible it is to predators, which explains the change in frequency of the melanistic versus the non-melanistic color morph in peppered moths in England during the Industrial Revolution. I'm not sure how any of this is wrong. Plus, wait, he's arguing against natural selection, right?
Which he already believes in.
Right.
I thought.
So what's the point?
Well, he's got to set up more straw men in his dinosaur Adventureland.
But it's a straw
man. No
man.
dinosaurs and only straw men.
But he's trying to straw man something he already accepts. He could just be like, yeah, the peppered moth, so what? And then just be done with it.
2 out of, let's see, what's 95% of 2? Wow. I have to do some figuring on that one. They still keep...
It's just under 2, Kent. It's actually not that hard to figure out. So you take 95%, okay, so 95% of 100. Okay, so what's left? 5%? All right, so let's just divide it by, 2, so it's 2.5. Okay, well, let's move the decimal point over a couple times. It's 0.025. So that's 5%. So you do the inverse there. So you're at 1.975.
Keep it in the textbooks, though, as evidence for evolution.
I mean, my math might be off, but I don't think it is.
The Tulsa Zoo doing?
Let's just not worry about
peppered
it.
moth display. I mean, this is...
Math is important, Bent.
This is a zoo, for heaven's sake. Why do they push evolution
Let's
in a
not
zoo?
worry about it.
Get the book,
Why do they push evolution in a zoo? I don't know, maybe because it's educational?
Cons of Evolution. He's done a whole lot more on the history of this peppered moth idea. But they tell the kids, we're going to learn to think critically. Boys and girls, do you think humans are still evolving? What kind of question is that? That's one of those questions like, have you stopped beating your wife?
I know. Oh, this is the have you stopped beating your wife thing.
Yet. Wow, let me think. If I say yes, I'm admitting I did. If I say no, I'm still doing it. Did you know it's possible for the
Actually, you could say no and then follow up with I never was, but hey, why not?
question to already have a built-in assumption? Look at that question. Do you think humans are still evolving? What's the built-in assumption?
I think Ken
That humans
probably was beating his wife.
I mean, his wife
He was beating his kids, so...
His wife has complained so Joe has claimed, from what I understand, some emotional abuse, but I don't believe she's actually claimed that he ever beat her. So
yeah, because he told her not to, or he hit her twice as hard.
I mean, they're already divorced, though, so I feel like that's probably not the case. And I don't want to accuse him of anything that I don't actually have any good evidence for.
I'm not going to accuse him, but I'm betting that he beat his wife.
All right, well, I'm not taking the bet, so find someone else.
It's an expression. I'm not actually making
to answer that.
Well, I mean, you said that about the whole Kyle handing over the non-sequitur.
Yeah, but that was like, I want to make a bet with you.
Oh, okay.
This is like, I wouldn't be surprised if Kent beat his wife.
Fair enough. I just want to say I won that bet, so thank you for the pizza.
You did win that bet. No, don't thank me, thank Kyle.
Well, thanks, Kyle, for the pizza. You're an idiot, but thanks for the pizza.
For homework for Monday. I would say, teacher, this question is poorly written. It assumes evolution has happened when it has not.
No, it certainly has, but, you know.
It's like asking the question, you know, why are elephants orange? Boy, no, there's a tough one. Why are they orange anyway?
Because they're colorblind, Kent.
Or because it's Diwali and someone painted them orange.
Or they're not orange.
Well, they are sometimes during Diwali. Why are you going to be a Diwaliist?
I'm sorry.
Did Indian Halloween, according to Kelly, ever do anything to you?
I mean, that elephant is orange, but
exactly.
It's the only orange one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They're not orange? This is not learning to think critically.
Oh, so you just agree with Ken
This is a
Hovind.
Soviet-style indoctrination-type brainwashing question.
What? Soviet-style brain? Oh, man, that's great.
That was dumb.
Yeah, I'm going to drink for that.
When the kid gets done taking this class, he's going to think he knows how to think. But he doesn't. He knows how to be told what to believe, and he never understands how it happened to him. That's not thinking critically. Then they tell the kids, we've got evidence for evolution from homologous structures. Wow, what's that mean? Yes, boys and girls. Did you know you have two bones in your wrist, and they're called the radius and the ulna? Pretty cool. And did you know the alligator has two bones in his forelimb? And look at this. They're called radius and ulna. See that? That proves we are related.
Nicole Davis says, according to Michael, yeah, okay, that is fair. It was more Michael who indicated that Diwali was Indian Halloween than it was Kelly.
Yeah, but Kelly didn't know either.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Kelly doesn't know anything, so I actually think there's a fair chance that Kelly described it in a way that could reasonably be interpreted as Indian Halloween.
Probably.
That's what they're going to tell him.
Hey, Godzilla. We drink for Godzilla usually.
Provide evidence that these animals evolved from a common ancestor. It's found in just about every textbook. You got it in these other ones up here, I'm sure, don't you, Steve? Homologous structures has evidence for evolution. They descended from a common ancestor, textbook says. Think critically. The bones are the same, boys and girls. See, that proves we're related. Evolved from a forelimb of a common ancestor.
It does, Kent. Yes.
The textbook says...
yeah, that's the thing. It sort of does, because why else would we have these bones, even though many organisms don't need there to be two? Now, humans get a lot of use out of it, because that's how you pronate and supinate your wrist. Yeah. But many animals just can't do that. Like that horse, it's not doing a whole lot of pronation. So why does it need the two? I don't know.
Comparative anatomy provides further evidence of evolution. The commonalities suggest that these and other vertebrate animals are all related. They probably evolved from a common ancestor. This is a lie.
Mothra.
They probably have a common designer. You know, the different bones in different...
The thing is, like, okay, the common design thing might work if we didn't have a nested hierarchy. If you could find, like, a radius and an ulna on a fly, just because it helped with the fly, you know, pronating, supinating, whatever came after the radius and ulna, then you might have a point. But the fact that all of these things fall so closely in with genetics, in with the rest of morphology, in this nested hierarchy, and that even things like neutral variation in DNA, the part of the DNA that isn't subject to selection pressure, also fits with all of these character-based cladistics in a phylogenetic tree that matches so closely. There's no reason to design things that way. That's why you can't do that with man-made things like wrenches or cars or cell phones.
Different animals come from different genes on the chromosomes. They're not homologous to begin with. Okay.
I actually want to correct one thing. There is one man-made thing where you can do a objective nested hierarchy. You know what it is, Bent?
No, I don't.
Languages. But the thing about
we've talked about this before. Yeah,
but the thing about languages is that they slowly evolve over time without intelligent design. But they are man-made.
Right. Right.
Okay. And even if they were, that still wouldn't prove common ancestor. Proves a common designer. The same designer made them all. Did you know the lug nuts from a Pontiac will fit on a Chevy? You can go out in the parking lot and try it. They will.
I think he was right about that, so I'll drink for it.
That proves they both evolved from Honda 14 million years ago.
Well, that was stupid enough to drink for.
No, it's true many animals have a similar four-limb structure. That's a good observation. I agree. They say they must have had a common ancestor. Oh, bad conclusion.
All right, I think that is where we are going to stop actually listening to Kent, because it's actually a pretty... Oh, that was loud.
Sorry.
It's fine. All right, so that's probably where we're going to stop it, because that was a stupid conclusion, but I think we've already pretty much covered it. So, let's see. Channel news. Stay tuned Thursday. There's going to be finally premiering, after some delays, the final episode of Creationism and the Big Bang. Saturday, be ready for another premiere, and this is something you might want to get some snacks for, maybe have it over dinner or lunch or whatever, depending on what time it is, because it's going to be a bit of a long one. I don't want to spoil right now what it's going to be, but trust me, it's going to be good. This is a sort of a feature-length thing that we're doing on Saturday as a premiere. Then next Tuesday, what are we doing, Kent, or Bent? Sorry,
we're
Bent.
Doing Kent with Bent 18.
18.
Yet to be titled.
Right. Untitled Kent with Bent 18 project. Then, that Thursday should be the premiere of my first episode of my new series called Noah's Zookeeper, which is currently available for my patrons. So if you're interested in watching it early, you can do that right now if you become a patron for as little as $1 a month. Link is in the description. Let's see. Then I have to check the my calendar here. Okay. So where are we? So that is the 5th is when that should be. The 7th, I hopefully will be my interview with David about leaving Young Earth Creationism. That is the guy who was a former AIG employee. So you probably don't want to miss that. I'm trying to get it set up for sometime midday where I am, which will make it reasonable for people in the UK or the rest of Europe to watch. I think that's as far ahead as I have firmly set up. And remember, we're going to be trying to get a debate between myself and Kent Hovind and Erica and I on the same side. Kent Hovind, we're still not sure exactly what channel it is. Kent seems to not want it to be on the a Marvel Girl channel, which was the original idea. So I'm going to have to talk to a Marvel Girl, because I did offer her a host and or moderation role, and I think she's okay with it being on my channel. So we'll see how that all goes. But that is date to be determined. But the video that I'm starting to make tomorrow will involve a tutu, and it won't be either the first 2 episodes of Noah's Zookeeper, but it will be episode 3 of Noah's Zookeeper, because that's the next video I'm going to make. I'm not going back and fixing episode 2 of Noah's Zookeeper, because that's already done. It's about to be rendered. The last thing I do before I go to bed tonight is I'm going to hit render on it, and when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to watch it, and assuming it all works out, I'm going to start making a tutu as it uploads to YouTube and becomes available for patrons. So again, if you want to see that early, check the Patreon. That being said, Bent, what do you want to plug?
I just got Copper Magma. That's it.
Check out coppermagma.com.
and new drummer and new music, hopefully in the next 6 months or so.
Is Bose going to be one of those songs?
Bose will possibly be one of the songs. We got to talk about it. We had to change our plans when our drummer quit.
So possibly is your answer.
So we'll see how things go, but it's a little up in the air right now. We're going to try to just record as much as possible and then figure out what to release and in what order later on.
And I just want to be clear, you said possibly, so that's a little bit less than probably, but more than possibly.
Less than probably, but more than possibly.
Okay, so there you go. So it's like a 40% chance is what I'm taking away from that.
We'll see what happens, but we're still doing shows.
Right.
Our next show is March 14th. Everyone fly to Tucson for that, and we'll see you there.
Yeah. In fact, I was at your last show, wasn't I?
Yes, you were.
It was a lot of fun.
Pretty good show.
Yeah,
it was a pretty good show.
My ears weren't ringing for more than 2 days. So.
Okay. Well, you were standing in the back, but it was kind of a small venue.
Right. It was a pretty small venue. I think I was maybe 12 feet from the stage, even in the back.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So if you are in the Tucson area or you want to fly there, then check out Copper Magma. And even if you're not, check out coppermagma.com where you can get pretty much all of your music for free, right?
All the music we only have 5 songs professionally recorded, but they're all free to download. And then we probably have like 17 or 18 songs that we haven't recorded yet that are written and complete. And some of them are really good. And some of them are, actually they're all really good.
And one of them features the voice of me.
One of them will have the voice of you on it. I don't know if the official final version will have that, but we like to put sound bites in our songs, so I think we will try to do that. Yeah.
So there you go. I don't think there's anything else. You know what? The chances of me not streaming in the next hour-ish to my other channel are basically 0. So if someone can link that in the chat again, go check that out. The things I might stream include, I might start a stream/recorded Mass Effect playthrough, so the trilogy, single player. Because I feel like now I can do that, because Bent is far enough along in his playthrough that I won't spoil things for a while. Other options include Kerbal Space Program, Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. That might actually be it, because I don't really feel like playing anything else. So there you go. You got like a 2/3 chance of Mass Effect. Otherwise, it'll probably be Kerbal Space Program. So it's going to be spacey. Not Kevin Spacey, just regular Spacey.
We don't like him anymore.
No. Well, I mean, there was that whole sexual assault thing. Demonetized again.
Yeah.
But, all right. And I just want to point out, we got $104 in Super Chats, which is over the minimum for the tutu, which also means that the next tutu is going to be at $200. So if I get a $200 stream, we're going to have a second tutu video. But
and $500 is the Bent Hoven in a tutu.
Correct. Yeah. So $500 will have Bent in a tutu as well as the Dapper Dino. So thank you very much, everyone. I will be on my alternate channel soon. I realize it's late for almost everyone. So if you're not there, that's fine too. And my ex is like, oh, Dapper, you've been playing Mass Effect all week. Mix it up. Well, I might do Kerbal Space Program. So there you go, Maya. Thank you for watching. I'm the Dapper Dinosaur. I'll see you next time.